Jake Morrison stood at the window of the space station and looked at Earth below. The blue planet turned slowly in the darkness of space. 300 years had passed since Earth went silent. The galaxy thought humans were weak and stupid. They were wrong. Lisa Hayes walked up behind Jake and handed him a datapad. Her face was serious. The information on the screen made Jake's stomach tight. Alien ships were coming, big ones. The Zephyrian Empire had finally decided Earth was worth taking. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. 3 days, maybe 4, Lisa said. "Their scout ships are already past Jupiter." Jake nodded. He had been waiting for this day his whole life. Every human alive had been waiting. Earth had been preparing in secret for 3 centuries. While the galaxy thought humans were primitive, the truth was very different. The Galactic Council controlled most of the galaxy. 3 big powers ran everything. The Altarians were made of crystal and thought they were the smartest. The Kepler Collective was like a giant hive mind that absorbed other species. The Zephyrians were warriors who conquered everything they could find. Smaller species had 2 choices: join the Council as slaves or die. The Council thought Earth would be easy. They had watched human wars and diseases and famines. They saw humans fighting each other and thought humans were too weak to matter. Chris Parker received the message in his office deep under the moon. Admiral Parker commanded all of Earth's hidden forces. The message was simple. Zephyrian ships were coming to demand Earth's surrender. Parker smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Send the word," Parker said to his aide. "Wake them up." Across the solar system, hidden bases came alive. On the dark side of the moon, massive doors opened in the rock. Giant ships that had been sleeping for decades started their engines. On Mars, underground factories began working at full speed. In the asteroid belt mining stations, that looked empty, suddenly showed signs of life. Amy Foster stood in her laboratory on Titan. Dr. Foster was the smartest human alive, and she had spent her life making weapons the galaxy could not imagine. Her computers showed green lights across the board. Every system was ready. 300 years of preparation, she said to herself. Time to see if it was worth it. Earth had learned from watching the galaxy. The Council species fought the same way for thousands of years. They used energy weapons and particle shields. They built big, slow ships and fought in straight lines. They thought there was only one way to fight in space. Humans had found different ways. While the galaxy developed better energy weapons, humans learned to bend space itself. While aliens built bigger ships, humans built smarter ones. While the Council relied on numbers, humans relied on surprise. The Zephyrian fleet was huge. 200 ships led by the battleship Dominion. Fleet Commander Zexthal was a veteran of 50 conquests. He had never lost a battle. He expected Earth to surrender as soon as they saw his ships. Ben Rogers suited up in the docking bay of the space station. Lieutenant Colonel Rogers was going to meet the aliens. Earth needed to buy time for the final preparations. Rogers was not worried. He had trained for this mission his whole life. "Remember," Jake said as Rogers prepared to leave. "Look scared. Act primitive. Let them think we are exactly what they expect," Rogers laughed. "That will not be hard. I am scared. Just not of them." The shuttle that carried Rogers to the Zephyrian ship looked like junk. It used chemical rockets and radio communications. Everything about it screamed primitive technology. The aliens would see exactly what they expected to see. Nina Clark waited in the shuttle with Rogers. Captain Clark was Earth's best negotiator. She spoke 17 alien languages and understood how the Council thought. Her job was to make the Zephyrians believe Earth was helpless. The Dominion was as big as a city. Rogers and Clark looked around with fake wonder as Zephyrian guards led them through metal corridors. The aliens were tall reptiles with scales and claws. They carried energy weapons and wore powered armor. Commander Zexthal waited in a huge room filled with weapons and trophies from conquered worlds. He was bigger than the other Zephyrians, and his scales were darker. Scars covered his arms and face. He looked at the humans like a cat looking at mice. "I am Fleet Commander Zexthal of the Zephyrian Empire," he said in perfect English. "You will surrender your world to the Galactic Council. Your species will be relocated to a reservation planet. Your technology will be confiscated. You have 72 hours to comply." Clark bowed her head like she was afraid. "Great Commander, our people need time to understand. We have never met aliens before." 72 hours is not much time for such a big decision. Zexthal showed his teeth. 72 hours is more than most species get. Use the time wisely. When I return, you will surrender or your cities will burn. Rogers and Clark returned to their shuttle and flew back to the space station. As soon as they were alone, Rogers started laughing. Clark smiled too. Did you see his face when I called him Great Commander? Clark said. He thinks we are already beaten. 72 hours, Rogers said. Perfect. That is exactly how long we need. Pete Davis watched the alien fleet from his hidden ship. Colonel Davis commanded Earth's stealth forces. His ship was invisible to alien sensors. It had been following the Zephyrian fleet for weeks, learning everything about their weapons and tactics. The aliens had no idea humans were watching them. Their technology could not detect human stealth systems. They thought they were safe while they waited for Earth's surrender. Dr. Foster began the final countdown on Titan. Across the solar system, automated systems responded to her commands. Robot factories worked faster than living beings could think. Assembly lines that had been idle for decades came back to life. Ships that looked like metal dragons emerged from lunar caves. Weapons platforms that could destroy moons powered up in the asteroid belt. Fighters that moved like living things swarmed out of hidden bases on Mars. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth had been silent for 300 years. Humans had not been sleeping. They had been getting ready for war. Admiral Parker stood on the bridge of the TDS Retribution. The ship was 10 kilometers long and packed with weapons that could crack planets. It was the most powerful warship ever built by any species, and it was just one of hundreds. All stations report ready, his tactical officer said. Parker nodded. Signal the fleet. Begin final approach, and send a message to the Zephyrians. Tell them their 72 hours are up. The silent planet was about to speak, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Altarian hierarchy received news of the Zephyrian defeat with cold crystal logic. High Coordinator Veltar studied the reports from his palace on the crystal world of Altair Prime. The defeat was impossible, but it had happened. The humans would pay for their defiance. Summon the Kepler representatives. Veltar ordered his aide. This threat requires our full attention. The Kepler collective responded instantly. Thousands of individual minds spoke as one voice through their ambassador. Node Prime 7742 materialized in Veltar's chamber as a shifting mass of dark energy. The humans have disrupted galactic order, Node Prime said. This cannot be allowed to continue. We propose joint action. Veltar nodded. The crystalline being's faceted head caught light from 3 suns. Agreed, we will combine our fleets. 5,000 ships should be sufficient to deal with these primitives. The Zephyrians also thought they had sufficient force. Node Prime replied, We must not underestimate Earth's capabilities. The Zephyrians were overconfident fools, Veltar said. We will not make their mistake. Every ship in our fleets will participate. We will turn their system into debris. Matt Brooks watched the alien armada approach on his screens. General Brooks commanded the Terra defense grid from his headquarters inside Ceres. The enemy fleet was bigger than anything the galaxy had ever assembled. 5,000 ships from 2 different species working together. Impressive, Brooks said to his aide. They are finally taking us seriously. Sir, the enemy fleet will reach firing range in 6 hours, the aide reported. Should we deploy the mobile fleet? Not yet, Brooks said. Let them come closer. I want them right where we want them. The combined alien fleet moved in perfect formation through space. Altarian crystal ships gleamed like jewels in the darkness. Kepler vessels writhed like living shadows. Together they represented the full might of galactics, civilization. Admiral Kethron commanded the Altarian forces from his flagship Eternal Light. The crystal being had conquered 40 star systems in his long career. He had never lost a battle. He did not intend to start now. Overmind Delta controlled the Kepler ships through pure thought. The collective consciousness could process millions of calculations per second. It had absorbed the knowledge of countless species. It considered human defeat inevitable. Helen Carter sat in her command center on Titan watching the alien approach. Dr. Carter commanded Earth's Scientific Weapons Division. She had spent decades developing defenses the galaxy could not imagine. Today she would test them against real enemies. Grid status report, Carter said to her technicians. All nodes online, came the reply. Gravitational lenses focused. Matter converters charged. Space-time distortion field generators ready. Carter smiled. Excellent. Begin Phase 1. The first sign of trouble came when the alien fleet's navigation system started giving impossible readings. Stars appeared to be moving. Planets shifted position. Space itself seemed to be changing around them. Navigation. Error, reported the sensor officer on the Eternal. Light. Our position readings are inconsistent. Admiral Kethran studied the displays with growing concern. His crystal mind could process vast amounts of data instantly. The readings made no sense. Run full diagnostics on all systems, he ordered. Overmind Delta experienced similar confusion. The collective consciousness tried to map local space, but the data kept changing. Gravity readings fluctuated wildly. Stellar positions seemed random. The local area had become a maze of distorted space-time. We have entered some kind of natural phenomenon, Node Prime 7742 reported to the fleet, perhaps a collapsed star or dimensional rift. All ships reduce speed and proceed with caution. The aliens did not understand that they had entered a trap 300 years in the making. Human technology had turned empty space into a weapon. Gravity generators hidden throughout the solar system created false readings. Matter converters made empty space seem solid. The aliens were lost in their own perceptions. Jake Morrison commanded the TDS Victory from the center of the trap. Captain Morrison watched the alien fleet stumble through distorted space like blind animals. They had no idea where they were or where they were going. All ships report ready, Morrison's tactical officer said. The enemy is exactly where we want them. Good, Morrison said. Signal all units. Begin Phase 2. What happened next would be remembered as the Battle of Saul. But it was not really a battle. It was a demonstration of what human technology could do when properly applied. The alien fleet found itself trapped in bubbles of twisted space-time. Ships that tried to move forward went backward. Vessels that turned left found themselves moving right. The laws of physics seemed to have stopped working. Lisa Hayes led the first human attack from her destroyer TDS Phantom. Commander Hayes had practiced this maneuver thousands of times in simulation. Her ship appeared directly inside the enemy formation without crossing the space between. Alien weapons fired at targets that were no longer there. Human ships moved through space like they were tunneling through solid matter. They appeared anywhere they wanted to be instantly. The aliens could not track them or predict their movements. Tony Blake brought the TDS Retribution into the center of the alien formation. Admiral Blake's massive dreadnought materialized between two Altarian battleships like a metal mountain, appearing from nowhere. His weapons fired at point-blank range. The Altarian ships died instantly. Crystal hulls that could withstand starfire cracked and shattered under human weapons. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their shields provided no protection. Their armor was useless. Amy Foster watched the battle from her laboratory with scientific interest. Dr. Foster had designed many of the weapons being used. She was pleased to see them working exactly as planned. The aliens had no defense against human science. Gravitational pulse cannons are performing within expected parameters, she noted to her assistant. Matter displacement warheads are showing 97% effectiveness. Quantum tunneling drives are operating flawlessly. The Kepler ships tried to adapt to human tactics by changing their formation. Overmind Delta attempted to predict human movements using collective intelligence. The effort failed completely. Human technology operated outside Kepler understanding. Ben Rogers led boarding parties onto captured alien vessels. Lieutenant Colonel Rogers used armor that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. He could walk through walls, appear behind enemies, and strike from impossible angles. The aliens tried to surrender, but the humans ignored them. This was not a battle for territory or resources. This was a demonstration of power. The galaxy needed to understand what happened to species that threatened Earth. Nina Clark coordinated the liberation of alien slave crews. Captain Clark had studied galactic sociology for years. She knew that many ships in the enemy fleet carried enslaved species forced to fight for their masters. Human forces carefully separated slaves from masters during boarding operations. "You are free," Clark told each group of liberated slaves. "Your masters cannot command you anymore. Choose your own destiny." Chris Parker directed the overall battle from his command center on Luna. Admiral Parker had planned this engagement for decades. Every move had been calculated. Every outcome had been predicted. The aliens were following his script perfectly. "Enemy fleet cohesion is breaking down," his intelligence officer reported. "Multiple ships are attempting to withdraw from the battle zone." "Let them go," Parker said. "We want survivors to carry the message back to the Council." Fear spreads faster than radio waves. The Battle of Saul lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the combined Altarian and Kepler fleets had been completely destroyed. Only a few dozen ships escaped to carry news of the defeat back to their home worlds. Pete Davis counted the alien survivors as they fled in damaged ships. Colonel Davis made sure each escaping vessel carried detailed recordings of the battle. The galaxy would see exactly what human technology could do. Ryan Foster began processing captured alien technology and personnel. Commander Foster was amazed at how primitive galactic science was compared to human achievements. The Council species had stagnated while humans had evolved. Steve Hughes prepared diplomatic missions to newly liberated worlds. Captain Hughes knew the galaxy would be in chaos after this defeat. Someone needed to offer hope and guidance to species freed from Council control. The war machines of Earth had awakened fully. Across the galaxy, species that had been enslaved for millennia began to rebel against their masters. The Council's power structure crumbled as world after world declared independence. But the humans knew their work was not finished. The galaxy held older and more dangerous secrets than the Council. Ancient machines built by forgotten civilizations were stirring in response to the chaos. Earth's war machines would soon face challenges that made the Council look like children playing with toys. The silent planet had become the loudest voice in the galaxy. And that voice was calling for freedom across the stars. The 72 hours passed quickly. Commander Zexthul stood on the bridge of the Dominion and watched Earth through the main screen. The planet looked peaceful and helpless. No defense satellites. No military ships. No signs of resistance. Have the humans responded? Zexthul asked his communications officer. Yes, Commander. They request a final meeting before giving their answer. Zexthul laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Of course they do. Primitives always want to negotiate when they have nothing to offer. Bring them aboard. Ben Rogers and Nina Clark returned to the Zephyrian flagship. This time they brought more people with them. The aliens thought the humans wanted to surrender with ceremony. They were wrong. Clark stood before Zexthul and spoke clearly. Great Commander, we have considered your offer carefully. Our people have debated long and hard. We have reached a decision. Good, Zexthul said. I grow tired of waiting. What is your answer? We decline, Clark said simply. The bridge went silent. Zephyrian officers looked at each other in shock. No primitive species had ever refused the Council's demand. Not when facing overwhelming force. Zexthul's eyes narrowed. You decline. Do you understand what this means? My fleet will destroy your cities. Your people will die. Your planet will burn. We understand, Clark said. We also understand something you do not. And what is that? Zexthul snarled. Clark smiled. You are not in command here anymore. Alarms began screaming throughout the Zephyrian ship. Officers ran to their stations. The main screen lit up with warnings and error messages. Something impossible was happening. Commander, the sensor officer shouted. Multiple contacts appearing throughout the fleet. They are huge. Where did they come from? Tony Blake stood on the bridge of the TDS Retribution as his ship materialized directly behind the Dominion. Admiral Blake commanded the largest warship humans had ever built. Around him, dozens of other ships appeared from nowhere. All stations report ready, Blake's tactical officer said. Enemy fleet is trapped in our formation. Good, Blake said. Send them a message. Tell them to power down weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that refuses will be destroyed. The Zephyrian fleet found itself surrounded by ships that should not exist. Human vessels appeared between alien formations like ghosts becoming solid. The aliens had seen nothing like it. Zexthul stared at the screen in disbelief. A human ship 3 times the size of the Dominion hung in space behind them. Smaller human ships swarmed around the Zephyrian fleet like predators circling prey. How is this possible? Zexthul whispered. The humans have no fleet. Our scouts confirmed it. Your scouts saw what we wanted them to see, Clark said. Just like you are seeing what we want you to see right now. Kate Sullivan led the first boarding teams through the hull of a Zephyrian cruiser. Major Sullivan wore armor that let her walk through solid metal like it was air. Her soldiers carried weapons that fired bullets made of pure energy. The Zephyrian defenders opened fire as soon as they saw the humans. Their weapons hit empty air. The humans had already moved to new positions. Alien energy bolts passed harmlessly through space where humans had been standing. Sullivan's team moved through the ship like water flowing around rocks. Zephyrian soldiers found themselves fighting enemies they could not hit. Human weapons fired back with perfect accuracy. In minutes, the alien ship was taken. The same scene played out across the Zephyrian fleet. Human boarding parties appeared inside alien ships without using airlocks or docking tubes. They moved through walls and floors like they were not there. Alien weapons could not touch them. Ryan Foster coordinated the attack from his command ship. Commander Foster had studied alien tactics for years. He knew exactly how the Zephyrians would respond to each human move. The aliens were predictable. Humans were not. Enemy fleet commander is requesting surrender terms, Foster's communications officer reported. Tell them no terms, Foster said. They came here to conquer. Now they are conquered. They will accept whatever we decide to give them. Zexthul watched his fleet fall apart around him. Ship after ship reported human boarding parties. His warriors could not fight enemies they could not hit. His weapons could not damage ships that bent space around themselves. Commander, his tactical officer said, the humans are demanding we surrender immediately. They say any delay will result in our destruction. Zexthul looked at Clark, who still stood calmly on his bridge. What are you? He asked. We are what you made us, Clark said. You and the Council taught the galaxy that only the strong survive. You showed smaller species that they must submit or die. We learned that lesson very well. Impossible, Zexthul said. You are primitives. You barely have spaceflight. Our intelligence reports confirmed it. Your intelligence reports showed you what we wanted them to show, Clark said. We have been watching the galaxy for 300 years. We learned from every species the Council conquered. We studied every battle the Council fought. We took the best ideas from everyone and made them better. The Dominion shook as human weapons hit its shields. The massive alien battleship that had conquered dozens of worlds found itself helpless against human technology. Its shields collapsed like paper in a fire. Surrender now. Blake's voice came over the communication system. This is your final warning. Zexthul looked around his bridge. His officers were scared. His ship was dying. His fleet was beaten. He had never surrendered in 50 campaigns. But he had never fought humans before. All ships power down weapons, Zexthul said quietly. Prepare for boarding. The battle for Earth lasted 6 hours. When it ended, every Zephyrian ship was either captured or destroyed. The most feared fleet in the galaxy had been beaten by a species the Council thought was primitive. News of the impossible victory spread across galactic communication networks. Species that had been enslaved for centuries heard the story and began to hope. The Council's power was not absolute. Someone had finally said no and made it stick. Matt Brooks received the first refugee ships at Luna Station. General Brooks commanded Earth's defense network. He watched alien families emerge from damaged freighters. They were species the Zephyrians had enslaved. They had heard about Earth's victory and come looking for freedom. Welcome to free space, Brooks said to each group. No one owns you here. No one commands you here. You are safe. Helen Carter analyzed captured Zephyrian technology in her laboratory. Dr. Carter was amazed at how limited alien science was. The Council species had grown comfortable with their dominance. They had stopped innovating centuries ago. They never had to try harder, Carter explained to her team. When you can conquer primitives with old technology, why develop new technology? They made themselves weak by winning too easily. Steve Hughes led diplomatic missions to worlds the Zephyrians had controlled. Captain Hughes offered them something the Council never had. True independence. No tribute. No overlords. Just freedom to govern themselves. Some worlds were suspicious. Freedom seemed too good to be true. Others embraced the chance immediately. All of them asked the same question. How had primitives from Earth defeated the mighty Zephyrian Empire? The answer was simple. Earth had never been primitive. Earth had been preparing. For 300 years, humans had watched and learned and built weapons the galaxy could not imagine. The silent planet had used its silence to become strong, but the war was just beginning. The Zephyrian Empire was only one part of the Galactic Council. The Altarians and the Kepler Collective would not accept defeat so easily. They would come with everything they had. Earth was ready for them too. The news of the second great defeat reached every corner of the galaxy within days. 2 massive fleets had been destroyed by the mysterious humans from Earth. Species that had been enslaved for centuries began to whisper about rebellion. The impossible had become reality. Susan Miller stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council on the Capitol, world of Nexus Prime. Ambassador Miller was Earth's first official representative to the galaxy. She looked at the frightened faces around the council chamber and spoke clearly. The age of the council is over. Miller said. "You have ruled through fear and oppression for too long. Today we offer you a choice. Join us in building something better or face the consequences of continued tyranny." High Coordinator Veltar of the Altarians spoke through a crystal communication device. His physical body was light years away on Altair Prime. "You speak of tyranny, human, but your actions prove you are no different from us. You destroy our fleets and threaten our worlds. We destroy your ability to hurt others," Miller replied. "That is not the same thing. We offer freedom to species you have enslaved. We offer equality to those you have oppressed. We offer hope to those you have crushed." Overmind Prime of the Kepler Collective manifested as swirling energy in the council chamber. "Freedom is chaos. Equality is weakness. Hope is delusion. Order must be maintained. Your order was built on suffering," Miller said. "It ends now." The remaining council members looked at each other with growing panic. Without their fleets, they had no power. Without their power, they had no way to maintain control. The galaxy was slipping away from them. Matt Brooks received reports from across human space about refugee ships arriving daily. General Brooks coordinated the massive effort to help species fleeing council retribution. Former slaves needed food and shelter and protection. Earth provided all three. Current refugee count is approaching 2 million beings from 47 different species, Brooks reported to Admiral Parker. "Our facilities are stretched to capacity." "Build more facilities," Parker said. "Every being who escapes council control makes us stronger and them weaker. We will find room for everyone who needs our help." The refugee crisis was massive, but humans approached it with typical efficiency. Automated construction systems built new habitats in record time. Fabrication units produced food and supplies for dozens of alien species. Translation systems allowed communication between beings who had never met before. Helen Carter studied samples of alien technology brought by the refugees. Dr. Carter was amazed at the diversity of galactic science. Each species had developed unique solutions to common problems. Combined with human innovations, the possibilities were endless. "Look at this thorium crystal matrix," Carter showed her team. "It stores energy more efficiently than anything we have developed. And this Velcran bioprocessor can repair damage at the molecular level. If we combine these with our quantum tunneling systems, the fusion of human and alien technologies created breakthroughs neither could achieve alone. Human creativity mixed with alien knowledge produced innovations that surprised everyone. The refugee crisis was becoming a renaissance of scientific discovery, but not everyone in the galaxy welcomed the changes. The Council's inner circle met in secret to plan their response to the human threat. They had one final card to play, something they had hoped never to use. Deep beneath Nexus Prime, ancient machines waited in darkness. The Guardian systems had been built by the galaxy's precursor civilization millions of years ago. They were designed to maintain order when organic governments failed. The Council had the activation codes. High Coordinator Veltar entered the Forbidden Chamber with his fellow leaders. The crystalline being approached, controls that had not been touched for 1,000 years. Emergency protocols allowed the Council to wake the Guardians in times of galactic crisis. "Are we certain about this?" asked General Thys of the Draconian Empire. The reptilian warrior understood the risks of awakening ancient weapons. The Guardians answer to no one. "They follow their own programming. We have no choice," Veltar said. "The humans have disrupted the natural order. The Guardians exist to restore balance. They will eliminate the threat." Overmind Prime agreed through the collective consciousness. "The Guardians will recognize Council authority. We are the legitimate government of this galaxy. The humans are invaders who must be stopped." Veltar placed his crystal hands on the activation controls. Ancient machinery hummed to life after eons of silence. Across the galaxy, Guardian stations that had been dormant for millennia began to wake up. The precursor civilization's final gift to galactic order was stirring. Amy Foster detected the Guardian activation from her monitoring station on Titan. Dr. Foster's instruments picked up energy signatures unlike anything in the galactic database. Something very old and very powerful was coming online. "Admiral Parker needs to see this immediately," Foster told her assistant. "We have a new player in the game." The first Guardian ship emerged from its hidden base in the galactic core. The vessel was enormous even by human standards. Its hull was made from materials that bent light around them. Its weapons could crack planets. Its intelligence was artificial but ancient beyond measure. Guardian Prime 001 had been sleeping for 2 million years. During that time, entire civilizations had risen and fallen. The galaxy had changed completely. But the mission remained the same. Maintain order, prevent chaos, eliminate threats to galactic stability. The Guardian scanned local space with sensors that could detect individual atoms across light years. It found a galaxy in turmoil. Ancient power structures were collapsing. New species were asserting independence. Chaos was spreading like a virus. The scan also revealed something unexpected. A species from a primitive world had developed technology that rivaled the precursors themselves. The humans had achieved in centuries what most species took millennia to accomplish. They were either the solution to galactic chaos or its ultimate cause. Jake Morrison led the first human contact mission to meet the Guardian. Captain Morrison took his ship TDS Victory to the edge of Council space, where the ancient machine waited. He had no idea what to expect from technology millions of years old. Incoming transmission, Morrison's communications officer reported. The signal is using quantum frequencies we have never encountered before. Put it through, Morrison said. The voice that spoke was cold and mechanical but somehow alive. It spoke in perfect English, though it had never encountered humans before. I am Guardian Prime 001. You are the species designated human. You have disrupted galactic order. Explain your actions. Morrison took a deep breath. First contact with aliens had been difficult enough. First contact with ancient machines was something else entirely. We liberated enslaved species from oppressive governments. We believe all beings deserve freedom. Freedom is chaos, Guardian Prime responded. Order is stability. The Council maintains order. You disrupt order, therefore you must be eliminated. The Council maintained order through fear and oppression, Morrison said. That is not true order. That is tyranny disguised as peace. Guardian Prime processed this information with artificial intelligence that had contemplated galactic philosophy for millions of years. The human logic was flawed but intriguing. Order through oppression was inefficient. Order through cooperation was theoretically superior. Explain your alternative to Council governance, Guardian Prime requested. Morrison smiled. This was going better than expected. We propose democratic federation. Each species governs itself. Disputes are resolved through negotiation. No one rules over others without consent. Democracy is unstable, Guardian Prime stated. History shows democratic systems collapse into chaos or tyranny. Order requires central authority. History shows that central authority becomes corrupt, Morrison replied. Power concentrated in few hands always leads to abuse. Distributed power creates stability through balance. Lisa Hayes monitored the conversation from her ship nearby. Commander Hayes was ready to fight if negotiations failed. But she hoped Morrison could convince the ancient machine that humans offered a better path forward. The conversation continued for hours. Guardian Prime tested human logic with questions and scenarios. Morrison answered with patience and honesty. Slowly, the machine began to understand that human democracy was not chaos, but organized cooperation. Tony Blake prepared the human fleet for possible combat. Admiral Blake knew the Guardian ship outgunned everything humans had built. But human tactics had surprised stronger enemies before. If fighting became necessary, humans would find a way to win. Guardian Prime reached a decision that surprised everyone, including itself. The humans offered something the galaxy had never tried before: true cooperation between equals. It was worth testing as an alternative to the Council's failed system. I will observe your democratic federation, Guardian Prime announced. If it provides stable order, I will support it. If it creates chaos, I will destroy it. This is acceptable. Morrison felt relief wash over him. It is acceptable. We welcome your observation and judgment. The ancient Guardian began broadcasting its decision across the galaxy. Other Guardian stations received the message and agreed to the test. The precursor civilization's machines would give human democracy a chance to prove itself. The Council leaders watched their final hope disappear. Without the Guardians, they had no way to stop the human revolution. 5 years had passed since the first Zephyrian ship entered human space. The galaxy Susan Miller looked out at was completely different from the one that had threatened Earth. Ambassador Miller stood on the observation deck of Haven Station watching ships from dozens of species dock peacefully at the same facility. Hard to believe how much has changed, said her aide Captain Steve Hughes. Hughes had been with Miller since the early days of the Democratic Federation. He had seen worlds transform from slave colonies to free societies. The hardest part was convincing everyone they deserved freedom. Miller said. Generations of oppression had taught species to accept their chains. Breaking mental barriers was more difficult than breaking physical ones. The Democratic Federation now included over 300 worlds and 47 different species. The capital Station Haven orbited a neutral star chosen specifically because no species had historical claims to it. Representatives from across the galaxy met there to solve problems through discussion instead of warfare. Matt Brooks had been elected the first president of the Federation. General Brooks brought military discipline to civilian government while respecting democratic principles. His administration focused on building infrastructure and maintaining peace between former enemies. The Altarians and Zephyrians are still having border disputes, Brooks told the Federation Council during their weekly meeting. But they are talking instead of shooting. That counts as progress. The transition from Galactic Empire to Democratic Federation had not been smooth. Species that had been fighting for centuries did not become friends overnight. Old grudges and territorial disputes created constant diplomatic crises. But violence was becoming rare as peaceful solutions proved more effective. Helen Carter had established the Federation Science Institute on Titan. Dr. Carter coordinated research, projects that included scientists from every member species. The combination of different approaches to problem-solving created breakthroughs that amazed everyone. The Kepler Collective, consciousness merged with our quantum computing systems, produces calculation speeds we never imagined possible, Carter explained to a gathering of researchers. Altarian crystal technology combined with human energy manipulation has created power sources that could fuel entire civilizations. The scientific renaissance was changing daily life across the galaxy. Diseases that had plagued species for millennia were being cured. Environmental damage from centuries of warfare was being repaired. New technologies were making life better for billions of beings. But the galaxy held secrets older than the Council, or even the Guardians. Deep space monitoring stations had detected signals from beyond the galactic rim. Something was watching the galaxy from the darkness between stars. Something that had been waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Amy Foster analyzed the mysterious signals from her laboratory. Dr. Foster had become the Federation's expert on ancient technologies after her work, studying Guardian systems. The new signals used quantum frequencies similar to human technology but far more advanced. The patterns are too complex to be natural phenomena, Foster reported to Admiral Parker. These are artificial signals from an intelligence that makes the Guardians look primitive, and they are getting stronger. Chris Parker had been promoted to Supreme Commander of Federation Defense Forces. Admiral Parker coordinated military units from dozens of species into a unified defense network. The old human fleet had become the core of something much larger and more powerful. How long until we can decode the signals? Parker asked. Unknown, Foster said. The mathematics involved are beyond current understanding. We need more data or more time or both. The answer came from an unexpected source. Jake Morrison had been exploring the galactic rim with the Federation Survey Service. Captain Morrison's ship TDS Victory detected an object approaching from intergalactic space. The object was massive and artificial, and heading directly toward inhabited space. Range to contact is approximately 6 months at current speed, Morrison reported to Federation Command. The object is larger than anything in our databases. Its energy signature matches the mysterious signals we have been monitoring. Lisa Hayes joined Morrison's survey mission with a squadron of Federation ships. Commander Hayes brought representatives from multiple species to establish first contact protocols with whatever was approaching. The galaxy needed to present a united front. The approaching object revealed itself as a ship built by humans. But these were not humans from Earth. The vessel came from the Andromeda Galaxy and had been traveling through intergalactic space for thousands of years. The crew was descended from human explorers who had left Earth before the Council even existed. Captain Sarah Kim commanded the generational ship, a Terra Nova. Kim's ancestors had departed Earth 20,000 years ago, seeking new worlds beyond the galaxy. They had found civilizations in Andromeda and built an empire that spanned multiple galaxies. We received quantum signatures indicating Earth had developed advanced technology, Kim explained during the first contact meeting. Our automated monitoring systems detected the collapse of something called the Galactic Council. We came to investigate. The Andromedan humans had evolved differently from their Earth cousins. Thousands of years of genetic engineering and cybernetic enhancement had changed them, but they were still recognizably human in spirit and outlook. We established contact with alien civilizations in Andromeda long ago, Kim continued. We learned to work together instead of fighting each other. Our society is based on cooperation between different species working toward common goals. Miller realized the implications immediately. Humans had not been unique in developing democratic ideals. Given time and opportunity, multiple human populations had reached similar conclusions. Cooperation was more effective than conflict for achieving long-term success. Tony Blake brought the Andromedan visitors to Earth for a formal welcome. Admiral Blake's fleet escorted the Terra Nova through human space, showing off Federation achievements. The Andromedan humans were impressed by how quickly Earth had transformed galactic civilization. 20,000 years of gradual change versus 300 years of rapid development, observed Dr. Kim during her tour of Earth's facilities. Both approaches produced similar results. Democracy and cooperation seemed to be natural human tendencies. Ben Rogers organized cultural exchange programs between Earth and Andromedan humans. Lieutenant Colonel Rogers was fascinated by how two human populations had developed different but compatible technologies. The Andromedans had mastered biological enhancement while Earth focused on mechanical engineering. The meeting between Earth and Andromeda humans created new possibilities for both civilizations. Combined human knowledge from two galaxies would accelerate development beyond anything previously imagined. But it also revealed new challenges. The universe is much larger and more dangerous than we realized, Kim warned the Federation Council. Andromeda contains civilizations millions of years old. Some are peaceful like ours. Others are not. Earth's expansion will eventually attract their attention. Ryan Foster coordinated intelligence gathering about threats from other galaxies. Commander Foster learned that the universe contained predator civilizations that consumed entire galaxies before moving on to new hunting grounds. Earth's rapid rise to power had created energy signatures visible across vast distances. We estimate approximately 500 years before the nearest predator civilization investigates our galaxy, Foster reported. That gives us time to prepare but not time to waste. Pete Davis began planning defense networks that would span multiple galaxies. Colonel Davis had learned from defending Earth that preparation time was the most valuable resource. 500 years seemed like a long time but would pass quickly when building galactic-scale defenses. The Federation began expanding beyond the galaxy with Andromedan help. New colonies were established in the void between galaxies. Monitoring stations were built to watch for approaching threats. The human tendency to prepare for the worst-case scenario served the galaxy well. Nina Clark established diplomatic protocols for contact with civilizations from other galaxies. Captain Clark studied Andromedan records of alien contact to develop strategies for peaceful interaction with truly foreign minds. Not every first contact would be hostile, but preparation for hostility remained necessary. Guardian Prime 001 observed human expansion with artificial curiosity. The ancient machine had monitored galactic development for millions of years, but had never seen such rapid positive change. Human democracy was proving more stable and effective than any previous system. The Human Federation model appears optimal for multi-species cooperation. Guardian Prime reported to other Guardian units. Recommend adoption of Federation principles for future galactic governance. The Guardians began actively supporting Federation expansion. Ancient machines that had once enforced council rule now helped build democratic institutions. The precursor civilization's final gift to the galaxy was learning to serve freedom instead of order. Amy Foster made contact with Guardian Archives to study precursor technology. Dr. Foster learned that the ancient civilization had faced the same challenges.